The photograph that blinks. In 2017, a woman bought a vintage camera at an estate sale for $12. When she developed the film still inside, she found 24 photographs of a family she'd never met. Normal vacation pictures, birthday parties, ordinary moments, except for one thing that makes this absolutely terrifying. In every single photograph, there's a man standing in the background, always watching, always staring directly at the camera. And here's what made her call the police. She recognized him. He was the man whose estate sale she'd bought the camera from, the man who had died 3 weeks earlier. But that's not the disturbing part. The disturbing part is what happened when she looked at the photos again the next day. In every picture, he'd moved closer, whispered, "Subscribe," because some images capture more than moments. Let me introduce you to Amanda Price. She's a 32-year-old photography teacher in Burlington, Vermont. She collects vintage cameras, not because they're valuable, but because she loves the history behind them. Each camera tells a story. On March 4, 2017, she attended an estate sale for a man named Thomas Whitmore. He died at 67, alone in his home. No family, no close friends. Just a house full of belongings that strangers were picking through. Amanda found the camera in a dusty box in the attic. A 1978 Canon AE-1. Beautiful condition. And best of all, there was still film inside. Undeveloped film. Any photography enthusiast will tell you, there's something magical about developing old film. You never know what you'll find. Lost memories, forgotten moments, glimpses into lives you'll never know. Amanda paid her $12 and took the camera home. That night she carefully removed the film and took it to her darkroom. She'd learned traditional development in college, and still preferred it to digital. There's something intimate about watching an image slowly appear in the chemical bath. The first photo emerged, a family at a beach, 2 parents, 3 children, building a sandcastle, summer vacation, probably mid-1990s based on the clothing. Happy faces, normal, except in the background standing near the dunes, was a man, alone, staring at the camera. Amanda thought nothing of it. Strangers end up in vacation photos all the time. The second photo, same family at a birthday party. A little girl blowing out candles on a cake. Balloons, presents, joy, and there, visible through the window behind them, the same man, watching. By the 5th photo, Amanda noticed the pattern. Every single picture had this man somewhere in the frame, sometimes far in the background, sometimes closer, but always there, always watching. She looked closer at his face, and her blood ran cold. She recognized him. It was Thomas Whitmore, the man whose estate sale she'd attended, the man who'd owned this camera, the man who died 3 weeks ago. But these photos were at least 20 years old. Thomas would have been in his 40s then, and he wasn't part of this family. He wasn't in the celebrations. He was just there, in every frame, watching. Amanda felt uneasy, but she rationalized it. Maybe Thomas knew this family. Maybe he was a friend who preferred to stay in the background. Maybe there was a simple explanation. She hung all 24 photos on a line in her darkroom to dry, turned off the lights, and went to bed. The next morning, she went back to look at them again, and that's when she realized something was horribly wrong. Thomas had moved. In every single photograph, he was closer than he'd been the day before. Not by much. Just a few feet. But unmistakably closer to the family. Closer to the camera. Amanda's hands started shaking. She grabbed the negatives and held them up to the light. The negatives showed Thomas in his original positions, far away, in the background, but the developed photos showed him closer. Photos don't change. That's not possible. Images are fixed, frozen moments in time. They don't move. They don't change. They can't. But these did. Amanda did what anyone would do. She took photos of the photos with her phone. She documented everything. Time-stamped evidence that she wasn't losing her mind. Then she put the original photos in a drawer and tried to forget about them. She couldn't. That night she dreamed about Thomas Whitmore. In her dream, he was standing at the foot of her bed staring at her, not moving, not speaking, just watching. When she woke up at 3:17 a.m., her darkroom light was on. She never left her darkroom light on. She went downstairs, The drawer where she'd stored the photos was open. The photos were back on the drying line. And Thomas had moved again. Now he was standing directly behind the family in most of the shots. Close enough to touch them. But here's what made Amanda's skin crawl. The family in the photos showed no awareness of him. They were still smiling, still celebrating, still living their normal moments. They didn't know he was there. Amanda grabbed her laptop and started researching. She searched for Thomas Whitmore's obituary. Basic information. No family listed. Died alone at home. Natural causes. Then she searched deeper. Old newspaper archives. Public records, and that's when she found it. In 1996, the same year these photos appeared to be taken, a family had gone missing in Burlington. The Hartwell family. Robert and Jennifer Hartwell, and their 3 children. Emma 9, Sophie 7, and Daniel 5. They disappeared on July 14, 1996, during a family vacation. They'd rented a beach house for 2 weeks. On July 14th, they simply vanished. No bodies were ever found, no evidence of foul play, no leads. The case went cold. Amanda pulled up a photo from the news archives, the Hartwell family, and her heart stopped. It was them. The family in the photographs. The family celebrating birthdays, building sandcastles, living normal moments while Thomas Whitmore watched from the shadows. Amanda immediately called the Burlington Police Department. She explained everything. The camera, the photos, the family. She sent them her documentation. Detective Michael Torres was assigned to investigate. He was skeptical, but thorough. He came to Amanda's home that evening to see the photos himself. When Amanda opened the drawer, the photos had changed again. Now Thomas wasn't just close to the family, he was touching them, his hands on their shoulders, his face inches from theirs. And there was something new in the photos that made Detective Torres immediately call for backup. The family's smiles were gone. In every photo, their expressions had changed. Fear, terror, silent screams, and written in the sand of the beach photo, in letters that weren't there before, basement. Detective Torres went back through the case files on Thomas Whitmore's property. The house had been cleared for the estate sale. Everything seemed normal. But no one had checked the basement. The basement door had been sealed, painted over actually, so it blended with the wall. The estate sale company had never noticed it. Torres got a warrant. That night, he and a forensic team returned to Thomas Whitmore's house. They found the basement door. They broke it open. What they found inside would make headlines for months. The basement was a darkroom, a photography darkroom, but not for art. The walls were covered with photographs, hundreds of them. Different families, different children, spanning decades. All with Thomas somewhere in the background, watching, and in the corner of the basement they found something that confirmed Amanda's worst fears. 5 evidence bags, each labeled with a name. Robert, Jennifer, Emma, Sophie, Daniel. Inside each bag, personal belongings, IDs, jewelry, a child's toy. The Hartwell family had been found. But what they found next made even the hardened detective step back in horror. A journal, Thomas Whitmore's journal, dated entries going back to 1973. Thomas hadn't just killed these families, he'd been stalking them for months before, following them, photographing them, inserting himself into their lives from the shadows. The journal described it as becoming part of their story before ending it. He'd done this to 17 families over 40 years. The Hartwells were the last. Thomas had died of a heart attack in his home. Natural causes. He'd never been caught, never been suspected. He'd gotten away with it, until those photographs started changing. Detective Torres closed the Thomas Whitmore case. 17 families had justice. Cold cases spanning 4 decades were solved. It should have been over. But for Amanda, it wasn't. The photographs kept changing, even after the case was closed, even after Thomas's house was demolished, even after the evidence was locked away. Amanda's copies of the photos continued to evolve. Now Thomas was no longer in the background. He was in the foreground, staring directly at the camera, directly at whoever was looking at the photo, directly at Amanda. And his expression had changed. In the original photos he'd been blank, emotionless. Now he looked angry, furious. Amanda tried everything. She burned the photos. They appeared again the next day, fully intact, hanging in her darkroom. She threw the camera away. It was back in her studio the next morning. She moved to a different apartment. The photos followed. She stopped using her darkroom entirely. The photos appeared in her bedroom. Whatever Thomas Whitmore had been doing to those families, inserting himself into their lives, their memories, their final moments, he was now doing to Amanda. She returned to Detective Torres. He was sympathetic, but helpless. "Amanda, Thomas is dead. The case is closed. I don't know what to tell you." But he did believe her, because he'd seen something too. In the evidence room at the police station, the original photos they'd seized from Thomas's basement had also changed. All those families, all those decades of stalking, in every photo, Thomas had moved, shifted positions, the images were evolving. The police couldn't explain it. They consulted with photography experts, forensic specialists, even paranormal investigators. No one had answers. One investigator, Dr. Helena Marsh, had a theory. Photography captures light. Light is energy. What if Thomas imprinted himself so strongly onto these images, his obsession, his evil, that his energy remained? What if he's not haunting a place, he's haunting moments, specific captured moments in time? It was an impossible theory, but nothing else made sense. Dr. Marsh suggested something radical. The families deserve to be free of him. The photos need to be destroyed, all of them, simultaneously. Every copy, every negative, every digital file, burned together. Maybe that will break whatever connection he's created. Amanda agreed. Detective Torres coordinated with other police departments. They gathered every photo from every case. Amanda brought her copies. The police brought the evidence. 17 families worth of stalking photos. Decades of terror. On September 3, 2017, they held a burning ceremony. Families of the victims were invited. It was meant to be cathartic, healing, a way to finally let go. They burned everything. The smoke rose into the evening sky. Hundreds of photographs, thousands of images, all turning to ash. Amanda felt relief for the first time in months. It was over. It had to be over. She went home that night and finally slept peacefully. When she woke up the next morning, there was a new photo on her nightstand. It was a picture of her, sleeping in her bed, taken sometime during the night, and in the background, barely visible in the darkness of her bedroom, Thomas Whitmore, standing at the foot of her bed, the same position from her dream, watching. Amanda didn't go to the police this time. She knew they couldn't help her. This was beyond law enforcement, beyond conventional explanation. She went back to Dr. Helena Marsh.
"Amanda, look at the timestamp."
The photo had metadata, digital information embedded in the file. It showed the date it was taken, September 3, 2017 at 3:17 a.m. But Amanda's phone, which had somehow taken this photo, showed something else in the metadata. In the location field, instead of an address, there were coordinates. Dr. Marsh looked them up. The coordinates pointed to a location in the woods outside Burlington, 40 miles from Amanda's apartment.
"We need to go there."
They drove out that afternoon. The coordinates led them deep into the forest, to an area with no trails, no markers, just wilderness. And then they found it. A small, weathered cabin, abandoned for decades by the look of it. Inside, they discovered the truth. This was Thomas Whitmore's original cabin, his real home before he'd moved into town. The walls were covered with even more photos, but these were different. These photos showed Thomas himself as a child, young, maybe 7 or 8 years old. And in every photo of young Thomas, there was a man in the background, always watching, always present, a man with the same blank, stalking expression that Thomas had in his own photos. Dr. Marsh found a birth certificate, Thomas Whitmore, born 1950. Father, Henry Whitmore. She searched through more documents, news clippings, and there it was. Henry Whitmore had been a suspected serial killer in the 1950s. 3 families had gone missing. Henry was the primary suspect but was never charged. He died in 1962. Thomas hadn't created this horror, he'd inherited it, he'd been raised by it, stalked by his own father his entire childhood, and somehow, he'd continued the cycle. But here's what Dr. Marsh realized: it wasn't just a cycle of murder, it was a curse, a literal curse. She found Henry's journal in the cabin, dated 1958. In it, Henry described making a deal. "I wanted to live forever. To never be forgotten. To always be present in the lives of those I touch. I found a way. Through images, through captured light. I will exist in photographs forever. I will always be watching." Henry had performed some kind of ritual. The journal included symbols, incantations, a description of binding his soul not to a place, but to light itself, to the act of being photographed. And when Henry died, that curse passed to Thomas. Thomas didn't just inherit his father's evil, he inherited his father's supernatural presence. Every photo Thomas took, every moment he captured, Henry was there too. In the shadows, barely visible, always watching. Now Thomas was dead, and the curse had found a new host. She'd developed the photos. She'd brought Thomas into her darkroom, her home, her life, and in doing so, she'd connected herself to the curse. Now Thomas would forever exist in her photographs, and eventually when she died, she would become the next watcher, the next stalker. The cycle would continue.
Unless we break it. The burning didn't work because we didn't destroy the source. We need to destroy this cabin, the place where it all started.
They set fire to the cabin that afternoon. They watched it burn completely. Every photo, every journal, every trace of Henry and Thomas Whitmore. As the flames consumed the building, Amanda felt something change, a weight lifting, a presence withdrawing. It was over. It had to be over. Amanda went home. No new photos appeared. Days passed, then weeks, then months. The photos stopped changing. Thomas stopped appearing. For the first time in a year, Amanda felt free. But here's what she doesn't know, what Dr. Marsh discovered but never told her. In Henry Whitmore's journal, the last entry read, "The curse cannot be destroyed, only passed on. The fire will not end it, the fire will spread it. Anyone who bears witness to the flames will become a carrier. The watching will continue, through new eyes, new cameras, new light." 23 people attended that burning ceremony in September 2017, 23 families of victims who watched the photos burn. And in the past 7 years, strange reports have been coming in, people finding old photos where the images have changed, strangers appearing in backgrounds, faces moving closer in pictures that should be fixed. The curse didn't end. It multiplied. Thomas Whitmore isn't haunting one person anymore, he's haunting 23, and each of them is being slowly pulled into the same cycle, the same stalking, the same watching. The photographs are still changing, right now, somewhere. Amanda Price still lives in Burlington. She still teaches photography, but she'll never tell her students this story. She'll never warn them about what can hide in undeveloped film, because if she did, she'd have to explain why she stopped using film entirely, why she never prints photos anymore, why every picture she takes now is digital, never kept, immediately deleted. She'd have to explain why, sometimes, when she closes her eyes, she still sees Thomas Whitmore standing at the foot of her bed. Watching, waiting. The curse of the Whitmores is a reminder that some evils don't die with the person who committed them. Some evils embed themselves into the world itself, into light, into images, into the very act of capturing a moment. Thomas wanted justice for the families he destroyed. He wanted to be caught, wanted to be known, wanted his crimes to be remembered, but he didn't count on becoming trapped in those same moments, forever watching, forever present, forever unable to leave. His father created a prison disguised as immortality, and now both of them are trapped in it, along with everyone who's looked at those photographs. Whispered, if you ever buy a vintage camera at an estate sale, if you ever find undeveloped film from decades past, think twice before developing it. Some moments were never meant to be seen. Some light was never meant to be captured. And if you develop those photos anyway, and you see someone in the background who doesn't belong, someone watching, someone staring directly at you, don't look at them again, because the next time you do, they'll be closer. Thanks for watching Whisper of Dark. If this story kept you up at night, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We explore the darkest mysteries and most terrifying true stories every week. Drop a comment and tell me, would you develop film from a camera you found at an estate sale? Have you ever noticed something strange in an old photograph? And remember, some images capture more than moments. Some images capture things that should never be seen. Until next time, sleep well, if you can.